All right, let's try this again, everybody. Is everybody there? I got people texting me right now. They're like, what happened? You know, there it is. All right. Hey, you know what? We're going to have some technical difficulties. You know, we just kind of ease right on through this.
Right.
They say that if things don't go bad, you know, without adversity, we don't grow, right?
Exactly.
We have to have adversity, right? Even if that means, you know, our show cutting off right in the middle of an amazing conversation.
Right.
All right. So let me see here. I want to make sure that I am in my face. There we go. I want to make sure that I don't miss any comments from our team out there.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Yes, you are live. All right. Thank you, Ian. Appreciate that. All right. So anyway, we're just talking about, you know, we're just reminiscing. That's all we were really doing. Just doing a little reminiscing, taking a little walk down memory lane. Well, we got a really great show tonight. We have, I think, a pretty engaging topic. What do you think?
I think it's a great topic. I'm super pumped about the topic, actually.
I mean, and I don't know. I hope that I have some good stuff to add, right? Because, you know, I posed this question on Twitter, you know, kind of just letting everybody know this is what's going on the show tonight. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what are your thoughts? And then I'm telling you, man, there are some brilliant people out there. And I was scratching my head with some of those answers. I'm like, man, I didn't even think about that. Wow.
Right. Exactly.
I need to prepare. I didn't really need to prepare for this podcast.
Well, you know what? I feel like it added so many layers to an already kind of sensitive topic for us as those of us who are like nurse leaders, who are really, really involved in nursing and trying to see the profession really a robust profession for 3.6 million people.
Right.
I'm like, wow. I mean, I asked coworkers, and I'm going to show the video. I have the videos up from talking to a couple of coworkers about like, what's your reason? Talk to me, because I want to share this. So they're okay with being shared.
So when you asked them what's your reason, were these people who are not as engaged, or they're like really engaged?
They're not as engaged as probably they want to be, or that they recognize those of us who are engaged.
I got you.
Because there are so many different levels, I guess. So yeah.
So let me let everybody know kind of what it is that we're talking about tonight, guys. We're talking nurse engagement, right? And so I think there was a question that was posed. Well, what do you mean exactly by engagement? So that's a good question. So initially, my thought was, well, when we're talking nurse engagement, we're talking about like when nurses at work, you know, don't really engage in their profession, right? In a way that, you know, that they're empowering themselves to be bigger than just themselves, right? Mm-hmm. So even if that's like sometimes when I'm at work, there are times whenever they're going to roll out a new, you know, computer program, you know, that we're going to be a charting system or something, you know, and so they ask for volunteer super users, right? And it's generally the same people every time. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's generally like the same 2 or 3 people, you know, and that's it, right? And no, everybody else is like, not me, you know, that kind of thing.
You know, it's so funny because when I was the president for the American Psychiatric Nurses Association of New York, I remember the executive director saying, you know, asking for nurses kind of volunteerism is kind of like Casablanca. So the question comes out, roll out the usual suspects. So the usual suspects normally come forward.
Yeah, exactly. It's wild, right? And also it's the same with committees. You have all these committees, right?
Right.
And you know, and maybe some people feel like they have to join, and maybe it's kind of like an obligatory, like I'll join so I don't get in trouble or whatever, but they never really participate, or they never go to any of the meetings or anything like that, or even town halls, you know. It's just one of those things that some people just do not get involved in the nursing organization. So I did an iHeartRadio interview last week with Dr. Joyce Batchelor, and you know, she asked me a question about we were talking about nursing organizations, and she had said that she just doesn't understand why more people don't see the benefit of joining nursing organizations, because there are so many benefits, you know, and maybe it's just not talked about, but I don't know. It's a weird thing, right? Because when we're going through nursing school, man, we're pumped, man. We're ready. This is going to be exciting, man. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. But then you become a nurse, and then maybe at first, but then you kind of slowly just kind of back out of the spotlight, right? I don't know, man. There was a lot of answers. There's a lot of answers. You're very engaged, right? Obviously, you have your own thing going.
I have moments. I've been more engaged at times than others.
I mean, look where you're at right now. Huh? Look where you're at. See?
Good point.
So, for a year, you've been just grinding, doing your own thing. And I mean, how many other people are out there like that? Not that many. In the grand scheme of things. How many did you say? 3 point something million?
3.6 million are.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Vilfredo Pareto?
Can't say.
So Vilfredo Pareto was a guy that came up with the Pareto principle. Have you heard of that? Pareto principle? It's the 80-20 rule. And it states that
80-20.
Yeah. So 20% of the people are going to do 80% of the work, right? And I think that ratio kind of comes out in a lot of things, right? And I think this is probably one of those things. If I would love to get the number, how many people are engaged out of all those millions of nurses? I'd be curious to know, how many, what's the percentage? Let's put that Pareto principle to the test,
Right. Well, can I play this video? I'm going to play the video and don't make fun of her. She's my coworker, but she knows, she knows it's going to be on the show.
We're not going to do that. Here, I'm going to put you in the spotlight here. There we go.
Okay. So
I think one of the reasons could be the time. I do really want to engage in the profession, but I don't have time. That's my problem. So that could be one of the reasons.
Anything else?
Some of them don't care.
I think that was very interesting. Say some people just don't care, and
that's true. And some people don't.
Like me. Alrighty. Thank you, Lolita.
So mind you, that was 2 a.m. in the morning. Another.
Oh, okay. I got you. I see. I get it. That's exactly what I look like at 2 a.m. in the morning. That's exactly how I feel. I'm like, do we got to do this right now?
Right. So she was like, it's almost time for my break. So.
Right. Yeah, you can tell. I can see it in her eyes. She's like, okay, let's wrap this up. Right. So yeah, those are good points, man. So, but and somebody else said it today in the Twitter feed. They were like, well, everybody has 24 hours, and everybody has the same 24 hours. And somebody else said that, you do what you find value in.
Right.
So, I mean, do you find value in? I don't know. I think that the more engaged you are into your profession, the more. I don't know. I guess not the more important, but the more value you see in it, right? Because you start getting engaged, right? You start interacting and doing things and seeing things that otherwise you wouldn't. And maybe that doesn't mean so much around the hospital, but maybe you're just in a really bad environment, because not all hospitals are awesome. You know?
Yes, exactly.
So
one of the things that I mentioned on the Twitter feed, because there were some people like going in about it, was kind of like we moved away. I think the profession of nursing has kind of moved away in some things. So one of the former presidents of the American Nurses Association for New York, her name is Betty Mahoney, incredibly brilliant nurse, was talking to me about her experience. I think she's like 80, maybe 90. Was talking to me about her experience. And she said one of the classes she taught and that she even took at school was professional nursing. And there was a big component of professional nursing course was about being involved and being engaged and joining your nursing association. I can't say,
That's
even though
undergrad?
I've been in this for like 17 years, I can't say that I've ever taken a course like that. I took nursing communication, but it wasn't about being engaged in nursing. It was about the science. And I think we've gotten very engaged in the science of nursing because that's just kind of where we've gone. It's become incredibly encumbered with being highly technically skilled individuals, but we lost the art of nursing. And I think the art of nursing was that being engaged, being involved. And now we're very science oriented. We're very about kind of learning the rote skills of being an ICU nurse. How does a balloon pump work? How does this work? As opposed to the other part. What do you think? I mean,
yeah, I like that, man. I think you hit the nail on the head there. Because that's really the focus. Because when you're going through school and everything, and by the way, I've never heard of one of the classes either. Was that an undergrad class?
Yes, that was a class when she was an undergrad. She went to nursing school in Boston, Massachusetts.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. There's definitely not a focus, on engagement, right? And I want to say that I saw somebody else say that they were having, maybe that was the same along the lines of the same post, but I think that'd be a great idea. But you're right. Whenever you're going through school, the focus is trying to pass a test, right? So there's really not a big focus on how to be engaging as a nurse or how to make the most of being a nurse, but and honestly, I'm in a lot of groups, right? A lot of nursing groups. And it's amazing what some of those nurses out there are doing. They're marching on Washington, man. They're doing amazing things, right?
Right.
And it makes me feel like I'm such a I don't want to say that.
Don't beat yourself up.
I'm so lazy. But it's I don't know, man. I want to read some of these other responses since you brought that up. So my question here, guys, is why are some nurses totally engaged in their profession, others not so much? And we got so many responses. So Cynthia Thurlow, who's a good friend of mine, who's actually on ABC Good Morning in her city quite frequently. She's a nurse practitioner. She says less engagement is likely related to apathy. More engagement can be attributed to intellectual curiosity, true advancement of the profession, genuine desire to see expansion of roles. That's a mouthful, but that's an excellent response. What do you think about apathy?
I think it makes a lot of sense. I kind of rattled that off to another colleague of mine about the intellectual curiosity, and she became very offended about the idea of it being linked to intellectual curiosity. But I think there's a part of it. I think apathy is a big part of it. We get in the profession after you leave nursing school and you get to the bedside and you have all these other challenges that kind of just make you have an incredibly different view of what it means to be a nurse.
Yeah. And plus, like I was saying, some of these, your unit may not be very friendly. They hear about this nurses eating their own. So if you have a culture, which I think culture has a lot to do with it. If you have a culture on your unit where, they say one bad apple spoils a whole bunch, right? That's not an expression because somebody decided it sounded good. That's an expression because it's true, right? And so you have one bad apple, can start saying, well, I'm not going to do that. Well, it might cause other people to feel kind of the same way, especially if it's a leader among those peers, And so you start getting that, and then you're new on the unit, and that's the culture. It's going to be hard to be engaged because those people might, they might say things that make you feel bad about yourself, right? So, and less apt to, do anything like volunteer to be a super user or volunteer on a committee or anything like that. Or some people even, they make posters, right, over a specific topic because it's something that they feel, they feel deeply about, and so these are just things they do, and that's that's awesome. Let's see. Joe is a friend of mine. Her name is Joe, and short for Joanna, I'm sure. And she lives in England, and she's a nurse for a long time. She said when senior leadership team changed at the hospital where I work, they were keen to engage the staff. I took up opportunities to attend staff engagement events and be a voice for nurses. They said they wanted to hear from the staff. And then she says, engagement works both ways. I'm also more engaged with the union I'm a member of. Another great way to, and when she says union, it could be just an organization or something later, local. And so it could be a colloquialism, in England for it may not be like a nurses union, like we may think of it initially. Another great way to strengthen. Okay. Let's see. She said, there's a global shortage of nurses. Surely there's no better time than now to connect with each other and talk about how we'll manage in future, how we can get the profession of nursing as career folk aspire to join. We can learn from each other. Anyway, let's see. A good friend of mine, Ewoot, who's also in England. I got a lot of people in England that respond. Lots of England. Yeah, I know. And so all through the night, all through the day, it's been just pinging. I feel it has to do with an understanding of the available possibilities. That's good. Some people don't think very big, right? They think very narrow. They're very narrow focused. I'm going to do my job, but like you and me, man, we're here on a global scale. I mean, people can watch us from all over the world. And this is something that we're able to connect with and talk about issues that are meaningful, right?
Right.
And I think that's awesome. So he says, knowing that nursing exceeds the bed space and can transport you all over the world isn't taught or even promoted enough. Time is also a known issue. People think it'll take up too much of it, like your friend, right?
But in another interview that I'll show, it's so funny because I asked her that when I posed the question, she immediately went to, oh, well, I'm very engaged. And she's talking about how she's engaged. And I was like, hold up, what are you? And she's like, she looked at engagement as with her patients. So when I clarified and said, hey, what about the profession? She was like, well, my patients are what's important to me. I don't know that I consider engaging my profession like really, really, that wouldn't have been in something that I thought about. And I was like, wow. And she's young, so right, they're like the future of nursing,
right. So the either the word needed to be clarified, or maybe engaging to her is just that, right. And there's no wrong answer here. Okay. I don't want anybody to feel like this is a neutral topic, right? It's up to you. We all have our own lives. We all have our own interests and pursuits that we like to go after. So this isn't a good or bad, oh, you're not doing this. Well, shame on you. That's not what this is, right? This is just a question because I'm curious, we have we have a conference coming up, which I'm excited about. You can know that people that go to conferences are definitely engaged, right? Because it's an expense, right? To go to a conference because you got to pay for your travel, you got to pay for your hotel, you got to pay for the conference, for days off. Yeah, you got to beg for days. Exactly. You got to plan way in advance, right? So it does take a commitment. But so do a lot of other things. But Cynthia, I believe, is the one that had said that, what we value, we pursue what we value, so how do people develop an idea about the profession to value things outside of just going to work, clocking in, clocking out, working their 3 days and then going home, I mean, I value my family. And I value my family much more than I value my job, I promise. Right. But I feel like, and I think that you and I may be very alike in this area. If I'm sitting down too long, I'm wasting time, man. There's too much. Exactly. There's not. Exactly. I feel like I'm being lazy. I feel like I'm only here for a short amount of time, and I want to make the biggest impact that I can in whatever way I can. Right. But I also probably like you, because I kind of feel it, that I'm into a lot of personal development, and I'm into a lot of that stuff, and I read all the time, and I really feel like I something about me, man. I don't know what it is, dude. There's something in here, and it's like it's getting me up all the time. Like, get up. What are you doing? Get up, man. You got to go do this, right? And I'm not like a super achiever. There's a lot of people out there that are just doing amazing things, But I definitely feel like, I have a voice, and I feel like it's my responsibility for, to use that for whatever I can,
Right. And I mean, so I have another 2 a.m. interview.
I want to see it.
And I just don't want y'all to think that, oh my God, he works at an organization and these people, they don't engage. I work at probably, I forget what the most recent number was, but at an organization where actually over 50% of our nurses are in school because they have a lot of encouragement, promotion to go back and make your BSN a reality, to become nurse practitioners.
Yeah,
and so
awesome. So that's another thing, man. That's another thing. It's hard to be engaged when you're in school.
Exactly. So here she goes. One of my coworkers is a 2 a.m. interview. So excuse the.
No problem.
Some RNs fully engaged in their profession and some aren't?
I think it's just a matter of time. If they have a lot of time, they'll be part of memberships and everything. But if they don't, then they kind of just float along. I don't really know what to tell you.
Do you find yourself fully engaged in the profession of nursing, or do you think that?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So,
that's awesome, man.
And so here we have a person, her perception is that she's actually fully engaged. I mean, so again, there are certain levels. Again, she talked about engagement for her was that she's been very involved with her patients and what makes a difference for her patients versus her profession.
Let's see here. I have some questions. I think I want to see if I can pull them up without messing everything up here. Oh, we got some good ones. Hang on a second. Okay, let me read some of these questions here. Okay. Jose Muniz, hey man, what's happening? Bill Lecker, what's up? David Foley, Bob Dent, Ian Saludares. Man, it's so good to see you guys. I'm sorry that I've been unable to correspond with our viewers very well, because usually Blake is kind of handling that aspect, because I can't see unless I pull my phone up, and then there's a lag. But let's see. This is okay. I'm going to do my best here. We have Bob Dent here. He's the president of the American Organization for Nurse Executives, AAMN. And hey, Thomas Rossini, what's up, gents? He had some great comments on Twitter this morning, and I would love to bring him on. Bob, can I? I don't know if I can bring a third person on without being on the other. I'll have to do it a different way. Bob, are you still on? Give me a thumbs up, man. Let me go ahead. I want to read some of his comments today. They were really good, because another one of my questions was, what are hospitals doing that have full engagement? There are hospitals out there that have 100% engagement from their nurses. Can you imagine? I mean, that would be such a powerful situation to be in, right? I would love to get to work in a hospital where the culture is everybody's engaged. So Bob says, we do have an active professional governance inclusive of our interprofessional colleagues, and we aim for 100% engagement where they are. That means the process takes on multiple platforms. This means around the table, in face-to-face, social media, during rounds, etc. Engagement is about communication and relationship building. As nurse leaders, we have to be visible, listen to understand, meet them where they're at. Let's see. As nurse leaders, we must model the way, there you go. We must model the way, being a great example of being positive and highly engaged in our nursing profession. Then as nurse leaders, we need to create an inspired shared vision. Is there a current state that is not, there we go. I think I lost it. Is there a current state that is not working? Can we get to a better, more desired state? We have to do what matters to us all. Then for the most part, allow nurses to proceed ahead, making changes, challenging all processes, policies, guidelines, failing at times, learning from those failures, but making progress. Nurse leaders must stay actively engaged in this too. And finally, celebrate all wins. Recognize the contributions of individual teams, promote dissemination of results in journals, posters, or podium presentations. Place them in locations for many others. I mean, that's great. That is like gold. And another thing, you guys might he's the president of the American Organization for Nurse Executives, but he is also the CEO and COO of the Midland Memorial, right, in Midland, Texas, which is about, he's on the other side of Texas, so it takes me about 12 years to get to that side, which I would love to go down there and check it out. Check out Midland. They have got some great things going on over there. Here,
yeah, I brought up some of those Twitter feeds so people could kind of see.
If you guys aren't on Twitter, man, shame on you. No, I'm just kidding. But we've got some great stuff on Twitter, and I love being able to connect with everybody out there and just talk about stuff like this. And this is really the first time that, man, I don't know what I did. I need to backtrack and figure out like the times I posted that to get that kind of engagement. Yeah, COO and CNO. I'm sorry. You're right. COO. And one of his books just recently. Hang on, I got it right here. This one right here, Heart of the Nurse Leader. This was an amazing book. So, I don't usually plug people and plug stuff. This is a good one, guys. But anyway, I don't know, man. I tell you what, I do look forward to the seminar, the coming up seminar. You're going, right? Are you going to be able to make it? I know you're always traveling, man.
Yes,
so
I will definitely be there.
Well, hopefully I can get you to, we're going to set up shop, dude. I don't know if you know this. We're setting up shop. We have like a ESPN type backdrop, and we're going to be doing live podcasts like every day. Interviewing people, dude, the speakers and everything. Is going to be awesome, man. So I hope that you're going to bring
all of the equipment. All people don't see like this studio that I've had to build out, but it's pretty serious. It's pretty serious.
Oh, I can't wait, man. This is going to be awesome. There's going to be, man, I'm telling you, this is going to be a new situation, and this is going to be a kind of a conference. Nobody's ever seen what we're going to do. This is a whole new model. And so I'm really excited to be a part of it.
Same here.
So we're coming up on the end. Actually, we kind of went over, but our system kind of shut down for a couple of minutes. So we had to kind of start over, in the conversation, but I wanted to kind of cut the conversation short here. If you guys have any questions or comments, man, leave them down below. We're still going to answer questions and comments after the show is done. And I'm going to post this show directly to our public page to be viewed as soon as we're done here. And let's just continue the conversation. Nursing engagement. Why are some nurses engaged? Why are some not? And what are hospitals doing where they're getting all this engagement? I'm so curious to hear from everybody. You have anything that you'd like to add? Anything you want to talk about? I'd love for you guys to check out Dr. Wesley Willis's show. If you don't follow him on social media, I'm going to type in right here. Find him here. Nurse Doc. And that's over, I think, all platforms, right? That's like Instagram at the Nurse Doc, Twitter. Yep. That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome, man. So find him there, guys. And he has a podcast. He was on a podcast directly before this one that went like 50 minutes. And he does those every Sunday night at 6 o'clock Central Time? 7 o'clock Central Time.
8 o'clock Central Time, 7 o'clock Central Time.
Right. At 7 o'clock Central Time. Right. So it kind of worked out real good, man. And I really appreciate you coming on. I really do.
Thank you for having me. I'm very passionate about this topic, so I'm glad that we're having the conversation.
I wish that we had more time. Maybe we can continue it at another time, or I don't know. We're definitely going to continue on social media because people keep getting notification after notification. Also, I wanted to talk about just a couple things, a couple announcements. We have some nominations that are still open until August the 8th. So we have Best Workplace for Men in Nursing, Best School for Men in Nursing. That's on August the 8th. That's the last day to submit your nomination. And I will put a link. You can just go to aamn.org and type, click on the events tab. And then, or just the, hang on a second. Let me tell you the right stuff. Is it events? No.
I'm not all that savvy.
I'm not either, man. We've been making so many changes to the website. It's hard to keep up with everything. So what I'll do is I'll put the link below. Hey, we have a question for you. And it says, Dr. Wesley Willis, your thoughts on engaging more men in nursing? Do you have any thoughts?
So I think that we kind of need to become an organization that kind of is more robust about diversity. So the way that we kind of engage, and I mean, just to be clear, I'm a practicing nurse in New York City. And I think that's a completely different beast than like people who are in Texas. No pun to you guys who are in Texas or doing Midwest. I'm always jealous every time I go about the brotherhood that kind of exists there. But I think that we have to look at the psychology of it all, about kind of like, first off, we got to talk about what does it mean to be a man in nursing? Because I think we still are experiencing things that you would think are gone in terms of like what's masculine and what's feminine, and being in those spaces. So I think that that's like the number one thing. Like Ian Solidaris had bowling just a couple of weeks ago here in New York City. I think that was a brilliant idea because it allowed like men to see that we're out, that we're doing things. I think that's a big thing. And you have to go into it sometimes knowing that you may be the only one there. And you may have to do it 10 times before you get another person, and do 20 times before you get another person. It's just the nature of the beast. People don't know what to expect. So I think just kind of go into it full force and say, it's worth the sacrifice is one of the biggest things to engaging men and getting men involved and engaged in nursing.
What about just, and diverse men nurses in particular? Okay, Ian says, Wesley Willis, why New York City Men is not having invited you to our event? So why haven't we invited you to any of our events? You're in New York City. So he's like, dang, I didn't realize that you were there. So I don't know. You guys are going to have to make that happen. Are you up for speaking at an event? Would you be up for speaking at an event?
Of course, I always am.
Oh, man, right on. Hey, shoot, you had said something and I thought, okay, yeah, I want to. Now I forgot.
Oh, diverse men and nurses in particular. Oh, okay. So then we get into a whole other level. Like, I think one of the bigger things, I guess, about that is we have to address and understand that there are also cliques. I'm a part of an organization or a group. I wouldn't even call it an organization, just a group of people, Black male nurses, who are over 400 Black male nurses in this group, but that aren't also a part of the American Association of Men in Nursing. I think that from what I understand from talking to those gentlemen who are in that group about coming over and joining forces, is the fear that they won't have a voice or that they won't be understood. I think you have to start somewhere. And I think that kind of like just recognizing that is there, that there are other diverse cliques, as you can say, even in that subsection of men in nursing, and kind of, just trying to be conscious of that there is some different needs and some different conversations and how that can particularly play out, if that makes sense.
That was fantastic. Let's see. He says, Bill says, perhaps you can attend the Greater Cincinnati AAMN statewide conference next March. So you might want to maybe put that on your calendar. Statewide conference, AAMN. See, that's another thing, man. AAMN, there are some chapters that are doing just huge things, right? And maybe these are chapters that have been around for a long time, or maybe they have a lot of upper leadership. It just depends. You might have some chapters that don't have people, that have maybe even been in any kind of organization before, and so they don't, right? So they're not really thinking big, or maybe they just haven't had the ideas yet of what's possible. But like Ian, man, they have some great events. They have, I think is it quarterly? They have, like a really big event where they have numbers of speakers come out and talk about different topics, and they have, big recognition and stuff. The AMN in Cincinnati, same thing, big stuff, So it's just weird, how some are really engaged, and some, but it is just what it is, right? I guess that's it. We're kind of pushing a little late too. It's such a great topic, and we really could go on and on. If you're not going to the convention, or if you're thinking about going to convention, start looking at hotel rooms. Okay, it's going to be at the Hyatt Regency in Milwaukee. You can book through AAMN, or say if you don't have the money right now to throw down on a hotel, you can. I use Booking.com because you don't have to pay until you get there. But I think if you go through, the AAMN, I think you just have to pay for one night up in front, right? So start planning now and start looking for plane tickets. I'm going up on Wednesday. I think Ian's going to be there Wednesday, possibly. Blake is definitely going to be there. Are you coming Wednesday, or are you coming Thursday?
I'm coming Wednesday.
Okay, awesome. Let's see. Ian, I believe Bob Dent is asking you, or maybe it's Bill, are y'all funding these events with dues? So that's a good question. We're talking about the monthly evening programs, probably. That's a good question. As I've said, you guys, we love to continue the conversation off the post. Off the show. So we're going to wrap this up. I don't want to hold Dr. Willis too long. I appreciate you, man, hanging out with me. I know you've been sitting in that chair now for about 2 hours.
Yes.
With that long podcast. So anyway, guys, thanks so much for joining us tonight. It truly has been fun. It's been a pleasure. And sir, it's been an honor to share the waves with you. And I hope that we could do a lot more. All right.
Thanks for having me.
All right. You guys take care, everybody. Thanks so much for contributing. And we'll catch you next time at the Nurse Station.
Next time.